So we are in Derech Eretz Zuta, Perek Vav, in the edition of Derech Chaim Rechos Chaim, Oz Yudav. Bali first is Lakika Botzeh b'Mokom Atzli. Interesting. Mokom Atzli sounds like the part which is roasted. Obviously, that has to do with the Gemara in Sanhedrin, where Menashe tells Rav Ashi that in the place where it was baked first, that's where you actually cut the bread, and the Derech Chaim brings down. Probably first from the place where it got cooked, baked first. Another place where the crust first formed. That either means on top, pas, or around the bread, or at the bottom. But not in the middle. She may be for a pusa shalechem. They brought him a piece of bread. Pas. You should only make the bracha from the edges of the bread, so not from the middle. Another interpretation. From the place where it was where it was completely baked, meaning where the bread is very well baked. Bishul, not a place where it would be cooked. The Rishon near Ikar. The first lashon seems to be the more correct. Lashon sugi near Keperush Sheni de Rashi, from the language of the sugi itself. It seems like the second interpretation of Rashi. The before Shalcha the Meir B'Kikar Sholim, we're talking about not a prusa, but about a whole loaf. The Amar Bali Frosis like Ikar. Says if you come to cut the loaf. If you perish a rishon, ain't hadin away a prusa below a shem according to the first halacha. It's only about evidently a cut piece, because it says not to stick it in the middle, but go somewhere around the edges, and wouldn't be talking. That doesn't apply to a sholim. Maybe says maybe Derech Eretz. It actually brings the girsa from here. Lo yifotz hamotzi makom harach el makom hakashi. You should not cut it from the place where it's soft, from the place where it's hard. Yunsham hashmo. Compare Sharishan to Rashi, and it seems like the first language of first explanation of Rashi, according to that, because it says kosher, and that according to that version, not sli. But here where it says sli, it sounds from the place where it was baked the best. I should say that that where the crust formed first. Now, the way we normally understand it, as I don't recall where this is from exactly. I thought it was in Rashi there, but we made some places from some other Mepharsh. The crust is formed first is opposite where the bread cracks open at the top. In other words, where the cracks in the braiding of the bread, opposite on the bottom is where it was karim bishula, the first place where the crust was formed. That means the first place crust was formed, not the place where the crust is hardest. Yud Beis in Balachos, it's known if you come to eat the radish uvatzol, or you come to eat onion. Eat from the place of the leaves. He says so here. It says in the Derech Chaim, besides based on Parashat Tamim, ochel hareza rav son. If you eat differently, you are considered to be a glutton. Here's the shas, but beitza elamei olav, you have to eat from the leaves. But there's another interpretation. But such to be in Yaakov may olav me tzad elyon. Olav could also mean from the top part. Truth is, he says it's the same because the psukim makam alim means the same place as the leaves. And mitzah betzad shu davak lalim, a place where it is connected to the shoots. It's a beitza shum b'makom. It's known and it says beitza. It says garlic rather than onion. Yud Gimel. This is something which is very, very fascinating because it's actually something which is probably the most lemaisa thing which we've seen so far in the Masechta, which has to do with Derech Eretz, at least a long time. You shouldn't take from the language of the Derech Eretz Zuta itself. It sounds like you shouldn't take a chunk out of the loaf with your teeth and put the loaf back on the table. But he says. It says here in the Derech Chaim, it seems that only where it's a full loaf, it's not Derech Eretz to take a chunk over your teeth. Put the loaf back on the table. But it says you shouldn't take a bite out of your own slice on bread on the table. And I feel beprusa, even if you have your own slice, it's not proper. To put it back on the table. Shanika ban nishichas and the where you can see where the teeth took a bite out of it. Most because it's repugnant. So that means if you want to take a piece out of your slice, you should actually rip a piece off and then eat that piece and put the rest of the piece, which does not have teeth marks on it, back on the table. Yudalit, balishtos barabim, if you come to drink in public, hofech ponav, it's not echad b'yishte, you turn your face sideways and drink. Now, I already went through this before, and for some reason it was not recording, or not to my, I was not aware of it. So I went to the Orchos. There's an old Orchos Chaim here, which I did, but now I see it's not so important. I've seen Min Shamayim, and Mashgiach that I wouldn't include it here, so we're just going to do the Derech Chaim. B'shtos Peish Rashi Sam Sells B'chors Mishnah the Derech Tam B'cholim Yosinu B'achil V'Shasiyah. Tam B'cholim is modest when he's eating and drinking. He's included by Mayan Shar Mashkin. Some there shouldn't be any difference between water and any other beverage. Look at by my Gemara, so why I say Gemara? Peish B'Tam. According to Rabbi Tam, I feel it's sluin lishtos mayim, that even though you should be modest in drinking water, lo yatzun lashti mayim, you shouldn't be modest in urinating because there's a danger involved. Ma'ishlos b'shas suda, according to this, not talking about the time of the suda. B'shas suda, by the time of the miyos shagam acherim shaisim, and other people also drinking, lo shayach tznius. There's no modesty involved. I feel mayim even with water. But Taisa Sham Ma'isikirs in the Maseches Derech Eretz, the way the Taisa brings down the version from here Maseches Eretz, but Rabim of a pun of tzad acher v'yishta mayim. In public, you put your face to one side and then drink the water. Question dafka noka mayim, and specifically about water, because not everybody drinks water during the meal. Let's tell me about it. Only person who's really thirsty. Other people, they sip the wine or the beer or whatever else they're drinking. But everything else, everybody drinks convivially together. So therefore, according to this, by water, there's no difference whether it's during the meal or out of the meal or even during the meal. Also, don't drink without turning it sideways, because this is drinking because you're thirsty, and that's not Derech Eretz to drink in front of other people who are drinking only for conviviality. Moshe Matam explains, everybody's not drinking water. But other beverages during the meal, the derech lishtos kulam, that everybody does drink together, shari, that's permissible. But it's not time of the meal. Even other beverages, also. Now we should no conviviality. So there is a proper tznius to turn your head. There shouldn't be any difference in other people who are not drinking, therefore, not drinking either for thirst, which you should always turn aside, or for conviviality, in which case you can join with them. So therefore, because it's proper tznius and Derech Eretz to turn sideways. Okay, the next lines in the again, as I said, I recorded this previously, and it was not didn't go through. The next lines in Tezvav, he has a gazillion pshatim. Lo ye adam lo ganokton, lo omkon, lo gargaron. So the amount of pshatim here is stunning in Tezvav. V'lo ye adam nokton. Milas noke b'loshem mikdash lo ras nekuda. One understanding is that it's language of nekudos. Dots k'mo noka v'talu, like dotted and patched by the sheep of Yaakov and Lavan. Zeh shloi nokton, meaning you should not be cryptic. Don't make dots on your words in order to conceal the meaning of your words. Zal say, wherever you have dots on the letters in the Chumash, and you have more letters than there is writing, and the dots come to diminish the meaning of the form of concealment, the meaning of the letters. I know this is somebody who puts his words down deep, meaning he hides what he's saying. Being kesaf in the depth of elaborate language. Ein avin, and people that will not understand. So people won't understand what he's saying. There's another way of learning. Nokdan hayloshon afesh yavesh. Nokdan is language of moldy and dry. Hainu nekudim. Lechem nekudim. If he's come out of lona, don't shleim zuam b'yipush. Shouldn't be a disgusting person. Walks around moldy with an odor. Omkan and loshon tinuf. Well, omkan means language of disgusting. Meirach from a bad smell. Commotion targminu. Asruchim arososam, and that pasuk which has the disgusting on the beds. Omkin. V'yeshal ra. There's another way of learning. Nokei b'loshen Talmud al nikius. Nokei in the Talmud means cleanliness. Kamo akumai minakdusa kapti. Now, the way I remember the Gemara, I just learned it tonight. Happens to be in Avodah Zarah. It's aminakarusa, not aminakadusa, with a resh, not with a dalet. But the way he has it is with the dalet, and that means cleanliness, according to the way he understands it. It shouldn't be too sensitive. Who's so overly meticulous in hygiene. They can't tolerate your friend. According to this is similar. You shouldn't be a omkan. No, the opposite. You shouldn't be an omkan means the opposite. Bilti makbi shumlikis. I mean, it doesn't care about hygiene at all. Like pig pen and peanuts. It's okay with moldiness and rottenness. Yitochen another pshat. Nokdahaim Rami's bets bosav. Somebody who makes hints with his fingers. Al tarmitz libo, and the treachery of his heart. Just like the nekudos, the vowels indicate the meaning of the words. Shouldn't be deep so he makes signs with his lips. From the depth of his lips, and again, these are ways in which you kind of undermine your friend by making signs to your other friend about the cynical or hypocritical or treacherous way in which you're communicating. That means it shouldn't be a glutton. You're talking, they smooth it with chalk or lime. Those who smooth out a wall with plaster. Because in Imshak Gamken, according to also do with our manner of speech. Just like we said above, one of the alternatives by no and omkon. Don't speak with smooth tongue. The teeth in a saw are called girei. Because even they obviously get caught up in whatever you're sawing or cutting. So you should not get caught up and all sorts of arguments and disputations. You're talking out another shot. Shaloshin shchenus. Come on, migoras beso. It says that Mitzrayim. Shal isha mishchein migoras beso. Come on, al der shemar hokara v'chad beso. It's like Chazal say, remove your legs from the house of your friend. Shalrogel so Tommy, don't always be by him. Kishalchein hador beso, as if you live in his house. Talking, it's also possible. Shooting arrows. Come on, derech mamar shemar kimahal teleha yorazikim like a person who's scoffing who shoots arrows. Don't shoot verbal arrows at your friend. So basically, you can mean anything. So you can fit it in some way, shape, or form into these words, nokton, omkon, and gargaron.